celebrations happen. Joining us on the broadcast are our panel of guests, Mr. Mohan Vishwa from the BJP, Ratan Sharda, who's an RSS researcher and author. We also have Sanket Yanegi, who's a spokesperson from the KPCC, and Mr. Syed Asad Abbas, who's a political analyst, is joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Mohan Vishwa, first to you. The argument that organizations like PFI are making is that if hijab was banned, why celebrate Ganesh Chaturthi? The minister said no religious symbols or any kind of religious things are allowed within the educational institutes. Ganesh Chaturthi is a religious festival. Respond to that.
See, Anusha, as minister said, this is not happening from past 2 years or 3 years or rather 10 years. The first Ganesh Chaturthi celebration started in 1893 by Mr. Balagangadhara Tilak to fight against British, where, entire Hindu unity was required. See, if somebody is objecting for something which is done inside the home, we do agree. So we are talking of something which is a social celebration, okay? It's a social celebration. If somebody comes up tomorrow and say that they want to celebrate Krishna Janmashtami or they want to celebrate some, Shabarimala Swami Ayyappa Jayanti and all, then it will not be allowed, okay? Because those are the things which were never celebrated earlier. Please understand the intention behind it. And I have one question to the Congress or PFI, whoever. Since 1947 to 2022, we just now finished 75 years of independence celebration. Isn't this the same we celebrated under their government? Okay, where Mr. Siddaramaiah was, chief minister between 2013 and 2018. Even then, also it was celebrated in all the schools. Okay, and it is not mandatory. Our government has not issued any new circular or new notification, something like that. Okay, it's purely a social celebration. Please understand, it is no way connected to religious issue. Whereas hijab, what you're telling now, is a settled case. It is settled in High Court. They went to High Court and High Court gave a few directions. It's purely about uniform, which will be wear by everybody on day-to-day basis.
Mohanji, I have one question to ask. Mohanji, please allow me an interjection. You're absolutely right when you pointed out that Ganesh Chaturthi and the manner and the fervor with which we celebrate it has links to our independence struggle. But one can't deny the fact that it has religious roots. It's a religious festival. You can't have a Ganesh Chaturthi celebration or the entire puja of a Ganpati without the Hindu rituals and rites. It's a Hindu festival.
See, Anusha, when I was also studying school probably 15-20 years back, I have celebrated the same Ganesh Chaturthi along with my friends who were Christians as well as Muslims. That's the kind of irony we had when we were celebrating. It can be even Saraswati Puja also, when we worship Saraswati once in a year before the examination. So that is what we do. So these kind of things are happening irrespective of any religion or any social cause for that matter, for decades together or for centuries, I can say. Okay, this is purely a social event. So don't mix with any particular religious activity. As I will bring
in the Congress also into the discussion. Sanket ji, the argument that the BJP is making is that hijab was a different matter. It was about uniformity in school educational institutions. There were norms that were prescribed by the government, and those norms and bylaws in various educational institutions had to be adhered to. This is something that the schools do at the local level. The government has not in any way facilitated it or stopped it. It's a cultural celebration that happens each year. Why bring in the entire angle of hijab into it? Please respond.
So the government and the BJP is blowing both hot and cold at the same time. In one way, when the hijab matter was being heard by the High Court before the full bench, the government took a stand that any school is not a place of worship, and it's only in educational institutions. Nothing would be permitted there. It is not to be considered as a place of worship, and no religious ceremonies or religious activities be conducted in any school. But now their stand is otherwise. So they may have to be sticking on to one point. Either it's a place of worship or a place of education. If they stick on to the point as already been considered by the High Court, saying that it is a place of education but not a place of worship, no religious activities be conducted in the school, no religious phenomenon should be followed in the school, then how can the government turn around and say that its stand is incorrect or it has got a different stand and it is trying to...
Let me take in a quick word from Mohan Vishwa, then I'll go to other guests as well. Mohanji, is this an artificial distinction that you're drawing between cultural and religious festivals? You cannot deny Ganesh Chaturthi is a religious festival. You're also right that we have all grown up celebrating Christmas, Saraswati Puja and different kinds of festival in our schools, whether we studied in a minority institution or in a government-run institution. But it was the BJP itself that brought in this entire argument that you cannot wear a hijab or you cannot have any kind of religious symbols within the school premises. The matter went to the High Court as well. So now you are going back on your own argument. That's what Congress is accusing you of. Respond to that.
See, Anusha, this is the double standard of Congress. He has not answered my question. Between 1947 to 2022, they were the one who ruled the country the most. Why they were not opposed? Between 2013 to 2018, why the same Siddaramaiah government was not opposed? Aren't Congress Karyakartas celebrate Ganesh Chaturthi in their schools or in their colleges? Come on, it was happening in their regime also. Okay, now why they are questioning is just because, to get hold on one particular community vote bank. That's all. You take anything for that matter. In the case of hijab also, the circular was issued in 1980. The particular practice in Udupi school was there from 1986. And also there is a circular issued by the Congress government itself. So this is the double standard of Congress. Okay. Earlier they say one thing, later for the sake of vote, they reverse their own decision. So it clearly shows the double standard of Congress. And I don't think so Congress has any say on hijab because they have not clarified their stand even today on hijab. Today he is coming and talking here, but when you see their hijab discussions, when those proceedings were happening, they never had a clear stand on it. Okay, so even today I don't think they have a clear stand. So Congress should avoid this double standard, and they should have some sort of a clear stand on all these issues. Where we